venues where we had the Walking Dead attraction several years ago. Up until this year, like the walls were still in place. Like you don't realize it, like when you went to Evil Dead Rise, right? Last year, that was in this house. I had to design everything around where the walls were. So like if it was a hallway in Walking Dead, it was a hallway. And we did that. So what we did after Horror Nights last year is we did a whole project to turn this into more of a black box space, meaning tore everything down, tore all the walls out, just made it a big empty box. So, and that was key for A Quiet Place, because A Quiet Place is big, like the scope of it is big, the creatures are big, the scenes are big, so we needed a blank slate in order to do that. So I'm going to walk us through the backstage area and back around to the entrance. It's the effect the movie had on people, because it's very unique audio design in the film. It almost plays like a silent movie, but there's never silence going on. You think there is in a movie, but it's always very subtle use of audio design. So we knew we had to change the way we do audio, because typically in a haunted house and Horror Nights, it's wall-to-wall, music all the way through. We tend to do a lot of, large speakers that are hidden kind of up above the set, but we needed to completely change that. So what we did is what's called near-field audio design. Instead of using big speakers that are kind of far away, we had to use lots of little speakers that we had to figure out ways to get them as close to the guest as possible, which is a real challenge when it comes to scenic props, dressing. I'll show you some examples as we go through of how we got around that. So that was the first challenge. The second challenge is the star of the movie, Reagan, was played by a deaf actress, and they use American Sign Language a lot in the film. It's a real major part of the story. So we knew we wanted to incorporate that into the house. So when you're waiting in line, there's a pre-show video with no audio. It's the first time I've ever done a video that has no audio whatsoever. It's all done with American Sign Language with open captions so people can read it. It's we cast an employee here that's deaf, and then we worked with, again, our DEI team. And it was an interesting film shoot. I've never done a film shoot like this before, where there's a translator who's doing the ASL to the talent. You're giving direction. It's just a different way of filming. So she kind of sets up the whole story of A Quiet Place, all with ASL. And then for our performers in the house, not just Reagan, who's the character who's deaf in the film, but for her mother and her, and some of the other family members, they use ASL not only to communicate with their deaf daughter, but because you can't make noise in this world or else the creatures will come. So we brought in people to specifically train our cast members, a series of phrases that they can use in an ASL that are being reiterated in the pre-show video. So the person talking to you will say, there's some things you need to know if you want to survive, and she teaches you a couple of phrases. And then the performers will be using it on set. So this is the first time we've ever done anything like that. And then lastly, the creatures. The creatures in A Quiet Place are big, and they're not human-shaped, and they don't walk like humans. They're all down on all fours. So we knew we couldn't put actors in costumes and pull that off. So that meant we were going to have to do them all with special effects. So it's a combination of puppeted figures, like you saw with El Cucuy, or in 4 cases, full-blown animatronics.
Oh, yeah.
So Chucky was the test. We knew we were going to be doing this last year. And so when we were doing Chucky, this is the test to see if this will work, if we can sustain it through the run, and now we're going to go big. So that's what we're doing. So come on in. Again, in the film, she's using ASL to tell you to be quiet, but also don't make a sound. They'll hear you. She's trying to set you up for what this new world you've entered is. The creatures in A Quiet Place are blind. They can't see anything, but they have supersonic hearing. And in order to hear, they have to open up these plates on their head that reveal their cochlea. So these are all things we bring into the story. Oh, I know who you are, but I'm not going to talk to you. I'll talk to you later. So Reagan is here using ASL. This is the grave of her youngest brother who, spoiler alert, in the beginning in A Quiet Place, doesn't go well for him. With the spaceship, with the space shuttle prop. He takes a toy from the store and it goes off and creatures come, and you can figure out the rest. So while she's doing this toy starts going off and starts making a noise, and then Reagan's, getting concerned and panicked and telling you, go, go, go. And now we know the creatures have been alerted and they're going to start coming for us. So we go into the next scene. Trees that were built specifically just to have speakers inside them. There's bushes behind you that have speakers hidden in them. So when you get to this scene, you run into the old man character from the first movie, and his wife has been killed by one of these creatures, and he's about to unleash this gut-wrenching scream. And once he does, you hear all the creatures coming from everywhere. And then as soon as you step through the curtain, you run into the first one. No performers, there's no scares. We're just going into the Abbott family's farmhouse, and the story point we're trying to communicate has to do with the lights. So you see the lights go from clear, which means it's safe, to red, which means danger. So it's just, all of this is just to set up what the dad, Lee, does in the film, warning his family, the creatures are near, get inside. The first movie, Evelyn is pregnant, the mother, and she steps on a nail, that'll be one of the last things we add. And then the bloody footprints that go down to where she's standing in the corner of the room. She's about to give birth, and she's in labor, and she's in agony, but she can't make a noise. But the creature has followed her into the basement, and this is a fully animated figure. So when you come into the room, he's cranking his neck around. All of those plates, all these guys are designed to open up and move. There's a little banner sensor. You'll see a little thing on that pole at the bottom down there. And that's a beam of light that when you trigger that, when you step through it, it makes the little egg timer on the desk start ringing, which is what happens in the movie that makes the creature go crazy. And then he goes into attack mode, so he rises up on his haunches and rah. So, but it's all animated figure. Here's a live performer, again using ASL to tell you to get inside the barn and hide. And then her dad, Lee, has grabbed an axe to try to take on this creature. And then you go into the barn. So,
the lights again.
Going to be over here. Everything that's black is filled with water. The water gets dyed so you can't see how deep it is. And as you come into the scene, the baby starts crying, and then the creature is an animatronic that rises up and opens its mouth, and you get blasted with compressed air and water. So this room's a good example of the work our props team has to do. Everything in this room, they have to source all the fake canned foods to every fake newspaper that's plastered on the wall. All that stuff has to be created.
So John, when we're walking, it's completely silent? Or
no, you're hearing audio.
Okay.
But you're hearing audio. You're not hearing any music, none at all. But you're hearing audio from the film. So in this scene, you're hearing the baby and the water, and then you hear the creature. So it's just
like elements of.
Yeah, it's all sound effects.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why you have the speakers close to it.
Yeah, because they're hidden. Like, I guarantee you, underneath that burlap sack is probably a speaker. Yep, it's a speaker. Yeah, so it's just trying to get everything as close to you as possible. And then this is the dividing line between the first movie and the second movie. So now we're going to the second film. I got no pictures of this one. In the second movie, Emmett, who's a neighbor of the Abbott family, goes off with Reagan on this quest to try to find this radio station that's broadcasting a signal. So the goal is that Reagan's trying to use the feedback from her cochlear implant that she knows affects these creatures to kind of weaponize it, to hopefully save themselves from what's happening in the world. But along the way, they come across this train car that's just been devastated, where these creatures are still inside it. So as you come around the corner, you hear a shotgun go off. You see Emmett appear from the other side, and then this whole thing is an animated figure. So it all comes forward, and then it tilts its head down until it's like right here, you know. So we had to build a whole train, which is crazy, but we did. It's even got wheels under there. It's even got a back door on it. He's trying to get there. Marcus, the young son, steps on a bear trap, and starts screaming, and of course that brings the creature. So this is a special effect where their leg looks like that's their leg, but it's actually hidden in a little opening in the set. He's screaming his head off. Evelyn, who's the mother, is across from him using sign language, trying to tell him to stop screaming. And then Reagan has taken out her cochlear implant and is weaponizing it and amplifying the sound as the creature tries to attack us through this brick wall. Motors and things that are inside his head. Because what he's doing, Marcus is over where you're standing, and he's got a boom box. His sister has reached the radio station and is broadcasting that feedback sound effect, which he's going to use against this creature. This guy kind of pulls himself out of the pot. All the plates on his head are opening so he can hear Marcus, and then when Marcus holds it up, they all start going crazy. The creature freaks out and retracts back inside the pot.
So cool.
And so this is the final scene in the house, but it's kind of more of a presentational scene. It's more like a show you're watching as opposed to something scaring you. So as soon as you step through that curtain, you can see there's one more.
So this is like the fake out.
Yeah. There's one more puppeted creature that attacks you. And that's the end. So any questions or anything I can answer for you guys?
How excited are you?
When we get there, I'll be excited. It's a long slog. My call for rehearsals tonight is 11 o'clock at night. That's when I show up at rehearsals. So I'm here till.
But you're in Ireland time, so you're still.
Oh no, I'm way past that now.
Do you get to choose the IPs, John, for Hollywood? Is that
myself, it's my counterparts in Orlando, and then it's people from our marketing team.
Okay.
We kind of get together, we talk about what we want to do, and see if we can reach a consensus, and then we have to pitch it to our management. But
so what sold you for A Quiet Place specifically?
The challenge of it, it's different. It's something we've never done before. All the movies. First of all, I think the movies are great. They're John Krasinski, who knew, back in the days of The Office, that he would become this amazing director. That's just, right out of the gate. He makes that film, and it's one of the best horror films in recent years. Mm-hmm. It's an excellent film, and then the sequel is really good too. And that's hard to do in horror. A lot of times you make a great first movie, but the second, third, fourth, fifth aren't as good. But it's sustaining not only critically, are the critics raving about the new movie that they just came out with, but it's done very well at the box office. So,
will you ever touch Hellraiser? Ever at one point?
I would do it in a heartbeat.
Really?
That's the challenge of doing this stuff. It's not as simple as it sounds. It's rights. A lot of older movies, they just never anticipated that one day there would be this thing called Halloween Horror Nights or other events where people would want to translate movies into, and it just was never anticipated. So it's not defined. So I would do it in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Really?
Sure. Perfect.
We'll be waiting.
Well, sometimes it does take that long. I wanted to do The Exorcist back when we first started in 2006, and I didn't get to do it until 2016. So sometimes that took a decade, but we don't really give up. We keep trying to get things.
The Shining was really good when you guys did that.
Yeah, 2017.
Iconic.
Yeah. Any other questions about this one I can answer for you guys?
You said there's going to be like different lighting in here. It's going to be darker.
Oh, yeah.
Have you guys tested that with the dark lighting to see?
Yeah, so we're doing lighting at the same time we're doing everything else. So like, as soon as it gets dark, well, not so much here. You could do it during the day, but we tend to start working on lighting about 7, 8 o'clock at night. And there's a series of walks we do with our lighting team. It's nice that it's the same lighting company that we've worked with since the beginning. Most of the designers are people who've done multiple haunted houses for us. So they kind of know the base of what we look for in terms of the balance between dark and spooky and being able to show off all the sets and characters and all that. But usually the first walk is just what you call color and focus. It's the color of the gel and the light and roughly where it's focused. And then as you go on, like tonight I'll be doing programming walk on the Universal Monsters house in stage 12. So I've seen color focus. I've gone through 3 or 4 walks on that, and now we're going to get into the programming aspect of it. So that goes on through the whole push on all the houses and
What-
in the park.
Was John Krasinski a part of? Has he seen any of this? Has he heard the
I am
plans
told
for
he
this?
loves it. Yeah, I haven't actually met John yet, but I'm sure I will. But the people I'm working with at Paramount, that team there, I was doing a presentation to their senior leadership at Paramount like a week ago, and they were saying John was raving about it. I was super excited.
He got
so,
the approval.
yeah, haven't
That's
met him.
awesome.
He's one of the people I haven't met. Yeah.
What is one
Will
of
he
your
be here opening night?
There'll be lots of people here opening night.
Yeah.
What is one of your favorite touches to the house in here?
I didn't even point it out. It's at the very beginning when you're in the forest. If you look down, because in the movie the dad puts sand down, and if you actually look down, there's sand. It looks like it's sand under your
right,
feet.
okay.
There's the whole forest stretch is a floor graphic. It looks very real. It's all just a graphic that we applied to the ground. But I thought that was a cool detail. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like, I don't know how many people are going to look down, but if they do, they'll see it. You know?
People do look down because they get scared and they're like
Yeah.
talking like
That's
this
true.
and stuff.
It's all the little touches. Like I wrote that in the treatment that Emmett has drawings of his kids in this foundry because he kind of lives here. And they weren't here until today. I showed up today and I was like, oh, there they are. It's just all the little details that go into communicating the story. That rag that's over there they use in the film so they don't lock themselves in the furnace when they're hiding from the creatures. So it's just trying to hit all the little details that are important in the film so that it translates to a live experience.
Okay, sure the notes, because like you worked on the Yellow because you have the. I think I remember like the element of the bridge over the water with
Yeah.
the kids like freaked out. That took me out of horror nights. I was like, where the hell are we?
Yeah, and those kids, those particular, because the water's only like that.
Yeah.
It's tiny.
Can't tell.
So the kids, when we first tried to do that, they looked weird. So we had to cut them. Cut them like this all the way down, so that you didn't, they looked like they were full bodies, but they were. You had to literally cut them all the way down. So those characters can only be used for that. Pretty much destroyed them. Okay. Anything else? All good.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. I'm going to show you how to get out of here. So it means a lot to them, but also for families. I've met so many families where it's like, this is our tradition every year, and it becomes super emotional for them. So I'm trying to convey to our employees and our performers, this is how much this means to people. Like, this isn't just like, going to this thing and I'll forget about it tomorrow. They wait all year for this, So just trying to share with them what I know to be true from our fans.
And the performers are always so good. They're
They're the best. They are the best.
Yeah, they're literally the best. And they do long nights, so we always,
Oh, they're incredible.
Yeah.
And we have this year. It's the most returning performers. We've always had several hundred come back every year, but this year it was almost like double.
Wow.
And we can't trying to figure it out. It's like, wow, which is good. You want that because they're veterans and they know how to do it. Like when I went to train Monstrous on Friday night last week, I said, how many of you are brand new, never done horror nights before? And not one hand went up. And I'm like, oh wow, that's first. Okay, really? You're all veterans? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like,
Are they all dressed up?
this will be easy.
Yeah. Are they all Latinos?
in Monstrous, yeah.
No way!
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking rad.
Yeah, cast. Even if they're wearing a mask, it's part of the culture. So.
Right. There's probably a lot of pride in that.
There is a lot of pride in it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I pump them up about is like, okay, if you're an original house, you're going up against all these big famous properties, famous music artists, famous movies. But last year, like, Monstrous was the one that everyone was talking about. So it's a challenge I present to them, like, okay, that's not going to automatically happen again. You have to earn it. That cast earned it. Now they're legends in Halloween Horror Nights. Now's your turn. So a little bit motivational speaking, a little bit cheerleading, a little bit everything. Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you, John.
Go back.